Wardell, thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Doing good. Having a good Sunday afternoon. What about yourself?
Same. So I just saw your show at Sycamore Jenkins, which is a lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot to think about. I wonder if you could just maybe talk about some of the ideas in the show.
Yeah. Well, I like recently I've been approaching like my studio practice and what I'm creating and thinking of myself as like a documentarian or a journalist. Because I like to think I'm aligning myself with the practice of Joan Didion or James Baldwin. And so I always admire the way that they would move back and forth between writing these really personal accounts about love or the ways in which individuals move through their interpersonal lives and how they extract their own like bio and dump that into these narratives. And then how in some instances, they're writing essays about their own experiences, like, Joan writing a whole book about the death of her daughter and her husband and what does it mean to like struggle and move through like years of grief. Um, and then they will, they switch and write these great reflections on society and on the world and how they're affected by racism. And so I enjoy the way that they moved back and forth between writing these narratives and these illuminations that dealt with like the personal, and then these narratives and these stories that dealt with larger, more complicated uh, concerns and issues that related to American culture, American society, in the world. So in this show, I wanted to really operate with that type of intention. So to make works that were small in not only dimension but also kind of focused uh, in its narrative and in its themes, and then expand this kind of accordion, expand it all the way out, and have like these much more in-depth conversations that related to the pillars that we think make up our American society, our American democracy, and how some of those tenets are being challenged. So really kind of moving back and forth between these more localized kind of conversations and then these very like large, complicated discussions that relate to culture.
So it's both autobiographical and also social commentary.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so for sure. Even with the autobiography or the more personal narratives are still a little not so much coded, but not so visually like recognizable. There's definitely like parts of my bio that are in a number of those pieces. Yeah,
So maybe not so obviously autobiographical, but pulling from your personal experience, of course.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That reminds me of something I read. I just started reading Proust because
Uh
we've
huh.
like my brother and a close friend of mine and talk about it constantly. They read it years ago and they still talk about it. And I'm starting to understand. I'm just into it. Just but in the intro, they said that Proust was writing fiction masquerading as autobiography.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's really interesting. Usually it's the other way around, right?
Yeah, yeah. I like that fiction masquerade as autobiography.
Yeah, that's really it's really good. And the language of Proust is really it's so memorable and it is very much like the experience of life, how we think. It's not it is a narrative, but it's not necessarily a narrative that is linear, I would say. I get that sense when I look at your work, it's a pretty open narrative for the most part, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's pretty open. Yes, they're open narratives for sure, and um, open conclusions. Like I'm not trying to answer some of these or give a solution or give an answer to some of these really puzzling kind of concerns or puzzling questions that we're having or facing. I don't. Yeah, there's no antidote. I'm not giving you like any type of antidote to how to cure some of these how to cure some of these um, really disturbing kind of moments and time that we are struggling to move through. But even amongst the struggle, there's still like great moments of happiness and joy.
But maybe there's a kind of cure through catharsis in a sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, I would say so. I would say there's definitely like a cure through the art making, a cure through, if not a cure, an alleviation through art making and through the viewing of the work, and hopefully like giving moments of encouragement and moment of resilience.
And I could feel the way in which you're working through. I mean, it is a stressful time and it's a really intense time. The society, the collective consciousness is very aware of the weird dystopian world that we find ourselves in. But it
Yeah.
does seem to precipitate conversation. Just for example, I was in the gallery yesterday and there was a group of people looking at your work, and they seemed to be they were clearly affluent, and they got into a political discussion, right then and there about certain issues that they weren't pro-Trump, but they seemed to be anti-Mamdani. Rich people don't like that he's coming after their money, they think, or whatever. I don't really, I'm not going to say I'm aware of these issues in any depth, but it did seem to spark a lot of conversation. It's providing a space in which we're asking these questions.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hopes that I have for my work in this show is to spur conversation and dialogue, even if it is uncomfortable to an uncomfortable exchange or even like uncomfortable reflections that a person has to uh, be uh, be challenged with. I think that one of the goals, at least for myself as an artist. Um, is yeah for someone to see the work and be like, oh my god, that's a beautiful painting, and I love the way that area of red looks. And but beyond that, to really challenge and have someone walk away from the show or from a piece, like thinking about their life or thinking about how they move through the world, and challenging certain notions that maybe they have been um, uh, maybe that they've held or maybe that they haven't considered before.
I think it's definitely succeeding at that. There are beautiful moments too where I can sense that you're getting lost in the process, in the color,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
mark.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of pieces where I definitely got lost in the making of it. I think that like lost in a good way, like lost and just enjoying the process and the medium and the mediums that are being used. And just kind of like feeling like Alice in Wonderland and just going further down this rabbit hole in the creation of certain pieces.
Yeah, you could tell that comes out.
Yeah, thank you.
What media do you use?
Oh, like anything, everything. So from charcoal and graphite to acrylic paint, oil pastel. I love like finding a cheap product or cheap material from 99-cent store and cutting it up and collaging that into the work. So for me, I mean, I don't have any type of hierarchy as it comes to materials. I think that any and all things are great. Um, I love saving like old works that I think aren't successful and cutting those up. Or and I have like sheets and sheets of old acrylic palette paint. Um, like you can. I was trying to look around in the studio to find one, but those like sheets of palette paper that you purchase and you
Hmm.
use to mix your paint on. I have like old sheets of those with dried acrylic paint, and I always just return to like peel off and collage into works to create texture. So I'm using everything anything that I think is interesting or would be interesting. I'm happy to include in the work.
I like that I can't really pin it down. I'm like, well, what is that? Usually I kind of get a sense of the medium right away, and it's nice that it's very open like that, that there's a sense of it could be anything.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, part of it is because I get bored. I like to play in the studio and play with different mediums, and see what works and what doesn't, and what's not interesting. I think that's important to me. Yeah, to always be playful with the mediums.
It's really about possibility, isn't it?
Yes, for sure, for sure. It is about possibility, and my hope for that, or part of the process for the studio, for like when I begin something, is not to create any preliminary drawings. So I don't know where I have no idea where things are going to end up, um, or how to really like go to the next stage in the development of a work. It really is just kind of like, what are the possibilities? So I begin the work and then, see how it moves, or how it transitions or matures. And that always leads me to how to conclude, or how to develop of a work. So I always like that possibility of chance. And the the act of like spontaneity and reaction to create good possibilities, and to create like the development of the work.
How do you start?
Um, no, oftentimes it starts with storytelling. So what narrative, or what kind of story am I interested in trying to tell in a piece? Um, the two pieces that are in the show. One is a casino scene, and the other is like these two men dragging the Statue of Liberty out of a sinkhole. And so with the casino scene, I had visited Vegas, and that was my first time visiting Vegas. But I wanted to create a drawing that really kind of dealt with the debauchery of not only Vegas, but the overabundance of everything in Vegas, from like all you can eat food buffets, to the excessive use of air conditioning, to all of the lights, to the relentless like sounds of machines and music. And that was just a reflection of the American side for me, like the idea of all these possibilities, and the idea of like overindulgence and overabundance and immediacy. Like you can have anything you want, like now. So I wanted to create a drawing that really tapped into that storytelling, and then with the drawing of the two men dragging the Statue of Liberty out of the sinkhole, was really wanting to create a narrative where we're thinking about these certain American principles, certain pillars of this of democracy that we value and celebrate, and creating a piece that for me illustrated like how we are struggling to maintain, or how we're struggling um, to rescue some of these values that we proclaim as a people and as a government to cherish, but that seems to be constantly uh, demolished, or in this drawing falling into a sinkhole.
Each of these started with an idea and then it expanded upon that idea. And
Yeah, yeah. Started with an idea, yeah, and then wanted to like expand on that idea, and think about how to create like some sort of story, some sort of visual story out of that
I
idea.
think the casino one was one of my favorites in the show. It really reflects the excess of Las Vegas. So what were you doing in Vegas?
My boyfriend and I, we just went after it was last July. We were there on the West Coast. His family's on the West Coast, in LA, and his niece had a quinceañera. And so after a couple of days after the quinceañera, we're like, let's go to Vegas. So we just went to Vegas for a couple of days, just to hang out. So we were there. Yeah, that was my first time. We were there for a couple of days, and um, yeah, it was fun. It's an odd place. Have you been to Vegas?
It's so weird. Many times. Yeah. Yeah. I went
Yeah.
to I there's great hikes like in the vicinity. There's a place, do you know Michael Heiser, the artist? He does like
Oh,
Earth.
oh,
Yeah. There's a piece called Slot Canyon out. If you need like a four-wheel drive, my friend was doing a residency at UNLV, and we all drove out,
oh.
and she had a four-wheel drive. So we drove out. You have to like go down these like back roads, I guess dirt roads to get there. But it's awesome. It's still, and there's great like hikes around there. There's this place called, I think it's called the Valley of Fire State Park right there. And so there's great nature stuff around in the area, but Vegas
Yeah.
itself is truly a bizarre. It's like being on a different planet.
It is. It is very bizarre. But I do hope to go back. I want to just go back with more intention and maybe perhaps photograph certain areas of the strip. Uh, yeah, and look at Vegas with maybe a more critical eye, so that I can take some of that information and bring it back to the studio. I have this idea of creating a body of work that relates to that city, and the idea of excess. Yeah, the idea of excess and overabundance and
That'd be great. I mean,
gluttony.
there's so much that, yeah, that is the place, it shouldn't even exist. I mean, there's not even water. There's
I was just saying, it's a place that shouldn't even exist. It is the ultimate American dream. It's like this should not even work. This should not be here.
it's a mirage, right? It's crazy.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
crazy. I went to a Star Trek convention there some years ago. Even if you're not a fan of Star Trek, it's highly entertaining and interesting because it's already like you're on another planet. And you got all these people dressed up like aliens and Captain Kirk and all this stuff, and it's truly an interesting spectacle. If you're looking at it from an outside perspective, if I think there's a lot of richness.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you have all of that along with families from the Midwest, um, walking through the strip like hand in hand, and you have the Star Trek convention, and then I saw Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse
Yeah,
on the same block as like these really gorgeous women trying to seduce people to come back to like the gentlemen only clubs, and it's great.
it's amazing. And then you
Everything,
have
everything's happening at one time on this one corner.
it's like America in microcosm, or it's like a very condensed America in some ways.
Absolutely.
I could see that for a series just in terms of the possibilities of it. Like and the visual spectacle that it's and the lights and the colors, it's beautiful in that in its own way.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's a very odd place.
So earlier we were talking, you were showing me paintings that are in the very early stages. It seems quite abstract looking at some of the work that's not quite started.
Yeah, I mean, so the surfaces for these paintings and drawings have been like worked on and slowly like build up to create like these very, yeah, as you said, like very like kind of abstract spaces. Um, I'm beginning to prepare for my next solo show, which will be at Franco Gallery in San Francisco, and that shows that thematically is a departure from the show that's currently up at Sycamore. So the show for the Franco exhibition is really thinking about like the firmament, so that space between the heavens and the earth,
Oh, yes.
and like this limbo space. So, if the Sycamore shows is really focused on the earth right now and how we're moving through certain challenges and how we find love and joy even amongst the puzzling and the um, times that we feel like we're being compressed. This show is taking very much like the opposite tone and considering like how do we exist and completely indulge ourselves in love and in affirmation by existing and trying to find a place between earth and the heavens. And so there's like this weird limbo space where blues and silvers are the color themes, and people will be like lounging and making love and talking to ancestors and riding on horses with wings. So it's very much a more fantastical show and imagery than the show that's currently at Sycamore. So I don't know what any of it looks like. I see it in my in my head, and I know that I want the surfaces and the spaces that the figures are going to be existing in to be like, as I mentioned, like in these very blues landscapes and a lot of silver leaf and silver like objects within those spaces.
Do you start out with an idea for the show as a whole, generally?
Yeah. Most oftentimes I start off with either the idea or the title. And so the Sigma show, I had the title of the show years ago, um, and I already knew what I wanted the show to be about. So it was just deciding how do I build out this show visually. So what do I like want to create to inform these ideas or this large show that I'm imagining?
Remind me of the title.
More action, more excitement, more everything, America.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So I should really pay more attention to titles because I think there's a lot of power in language.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It really shapes us and informs us who we are. We think in language, and often on a visual level, you think that that painting is separate from language, but I think it's like a part of the process as well.
Yeah, I would say so. Even if it's not so apparent, because a lot of times literature informs what I'm making. Um,
You were mentioning James Baldwin being a big influence. Who else would you say is influential from a literary standpoint?
yeah, right now I'm reading Karen. I'm gonna mispronounce her last name. Karen Desai, I think. She wrote the Inheritance of Sadness.
Hmm.
Um, and like really gorgeous writing, and the way that she describes like texture, and the way that she describes the the can't say the word, deteriorating houses or homes that the characters exist and live in is so like gorgeous. And so like when you read great literature, and when you are um, when you consume like works where the writer has like this really amazing command of words and is able to use words in a way that allows for me and allows for the reader to feel like you're completely removed from from your existence, and you're like planted into a book is so is this like amazing for me to see how someone is able to do that. And so I'd like to try to replicate that in my works. So like, reading her, even reading Stephen King.
Oh, he's great.
um,
Yeah.
Great, yeah. The way he's able to create like suspense, the way he's able to like hold your attention, I find really interesting. Octavia Butler, like the way that she's so like, prophetic, um, the way that she's able to create these stories that talks about like a lot of the things that we experience, like racial dynamics and hierarchies, and um, the fighting over what we believe is right in society, like where she's able to create like characters that really challenge power structures in those stories, I find inspiring. So looking at like that text and those stories and those characters that these writers imagine and birth is really influential and inspiring in my work for me. Yeah.
Literature, the way that it can transport you, it is something like magic.
Right, right. Well, you said you improved for that. What else are you reading that you're excited about?
A lot of sci-fi. Like a lot of it's just kind of like easy but the last sci-fi book that I read by Kim Stanley Robinson called 2312 is just a masterpiece. It's so beautiful.
Okay.
It's set in the year 2312, so 200 years from now, and humans have colonized the solar system. There's still a lot of problems, but you're sort of moved through the solar system through the vantage point of these characters. They're all genetically modified, and so a lot of ideas that are happening now. I think there's a lot of things that you can do in the realm of science fiction that is permissible because people think that it's not reality. But a lot of this stuff is a very deep reflection of reality or will become real.
Yeah, which is always kind of mind-boggling, especially if you're reading old sci-fi, or if you're watching like old Star Trek episodes. And it just seems like so unattainable. Like, yeah, we could be talking through our watches, or we could have AI and have like AI turn on all the lights in our homes. And then we look at sci-fi that was written like decades ago before the technology. You know, they were really so creative and so imaginative, and I'm sure that perhaps some of them thought, yeah, we will eventually get there, but I'm sure a lot of them just thought, yeah, this is impossible. That nothing like this could ever happen.
And it's possible they inspired that technology. And I think in the case of like the cell phone, for example, I'm sure there was maybe some inspiration or some other technologies that we use now. And we just need
Yeah.
transporters, that'd be handy.
I, I was just gonna say we just need like, yo, Scotty, beat me up. Dan, beat me up.
Yeah, we'd be talking in person. Wish I'd be in the studio checking out your paintings in real
Right.
life, which it's a whole different speaking of which, it's a whole different thing. Seeing something in person, seeing the quality of something. It was really a privilege to get to see your show and actually feel the texture of it. As far advanced as we are, there's a reason why we still make paintings.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, every Sunday I listen to like Morning Edition on WNYC. But Aisha Roscoe, is it Aisha Roscoe? I forget her last name. Anyways, but she was on there. She was doing a segment, and they were talking about analog, and she had a guest on, and it was, I think it was an Instagram influencer, but her whole platform is dealing with like how to introduce or um, how to slow down your everyday. And so this influencer has this analog bag that they travel with. And so in the analog bag is like a knitting kit, a book, a coloring book. So the things that requires you to like use your hand and put down the screen or your phone. And so I think that there's people are like super conscious about how to be a bit more present and how to be more tactile. And I think
That's
that's
good.
yeah. It was nice to hear that segment.
I feel like painting is the only thing saving me from just completely falling into the phone rabbit hole, man.
Right?
It's
So how does it maybe what is it? How does it require you or does it ask you to come up? Does it like, yo, Dan, put the phone down and come over here and work
I
on me?
I feel like when I'm there, I didn't even think about the phone. When I'm painting, I'll just say, okay, I'm gonna do it for 10, 15 minutes, and then an hour, 2 hours go by if I have the time, and I'm still painting and I haven't looked at the phone. It's like the one time where I'm really focused and not distracted. But I think having these things that are analog, I like that an analog bag. And it seems to be like there's a backlash against the way that we clearly abuse this tech, or is abusing us, vice versa, the technology. I hope that young people are viewing it with a little more suspicion.
Yeah, I hope so as well. I think that they are. Um, and I say that because there seems to be a lot of excitement for like Polaroid camera or vinyl records. Um, and it seems that there's interest in like actually hanging out. So like students playing outside and playing like football or tag or soccer. Uh, so I'm hoping that it feels as if they recognize the importance of like being more social and putting down the devices. So hopefully, hopefully that will continue as the younger generation moves into adulthood. Um, and yeah, it's great to have a computer in your pocket with the phone, and is absolutely fun to be able to pick it up and scroll and see what people are doing on Instagram and see what folks are doing in other cities or other communities. But there is something to that attraction and it just like sucks you in, and it really knows how to keep you on the device. It knows how to keep you scrolling.
So addictive. And speaking of Las Vegas, a lot of the techniques they use to get you to stay on social media come from the gaming industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is I could totally see it. When I was there in Vegas and I played, I only gave myself $100. It's like if we are not going broke in this
That's
casino.
responsible.
Very, right? And it's not even a lot of money. So I gave myself $100 and I was on the little slot machine and I was losing most of my money at first, and then I started winning, and I started winning, and more and more. I got like to $1,200. I was like, oh my
What?
God.
Really? On the slot machine?
Right, right. I was like, this is fun. Let me go get another hundred. I didn't, but I was like, let me go get another $100. But I could see how, just you're just constantly pressing that gamble, that button to play the next game. I mean, I ended up losing all of it,
Of course.
but right. But it was really easy to sit down and just become so entranced with that machine and the rolling animation
It's
and
dopamine,
just
man.
the
It's just
dopamine. Right, 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 right,
they know what buttons to push.
right. And I knew which button to push too. I was constantly just
Yeah.
pushing that button.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's things like that. And when the phone is the same thing, you get a little dopamine hit when you look at, your social media. Oh, I got a like or whatever, or just a tiny little hit, and then it keeps you coming back. And then also it's like just the lights and the colors and the moving things. Watch a little kid looking at a screen. We haven't changed really much from that.
No, yeah, not at all, not at all. So when you're in your studio, do you put your phone away, or do you listen to music? Like
I usually listen to music.
how do
Yeah.
you?
I'll put on some music and just as a way to keep time, basically. Otherwise,
Right.
I kind of lose track. I'll put on some classical or something that kind of depends on the moment, or maybe a podcast or something chill. What about you? What are you listening to? Do you have music while you paint?
During the day, I normally listen to WNYC, and I'll listen to that until maybe like 4 o'clock, and then I'll switch to true crime. And so I'll listen to like Dateline or Murder with My Husband or like a true crime episode on Reveal. And then towards the evening, I'll switch to music. And then on the weekends, I give myself like once we get finished, I'll probably just put on true crime and listen to a really good murder mystery.
Oh, nice.
So I listen. Yeah, I'm definitely like a true crime, murder, serial killer, missing person listener while I'm in the studio.
It certainly makes the time go by fast.
It does. It does. Plus, I like to try to figure out what happened or who did it. So it's always that's always like a fun activity.
I think anything you can do to keep your brain engaged, like maybe making a painting is like a mystery of its own. What's it going to look like? What does it need?
Yeah, yeah. And I like to get to the point with the work where I'm kind of I know where it's going and I know what it's asking of me, and then I can kind of not be on autopilot, but I'm just responding, and it's just telling me this is what we want, go get it, add it. This is what we need. Um, do this. So that in moments like that, it's kind of it's a nice feeling because I feel as if I'm really just responding to what the painting or what the drawing is asking for. And in those moments, I'm able to listen to my true crime and play detective a little bit more than I'm able to be a bit more of an active listener than it just being on in the background.
Does it take work to get to that point where you can kind of let go a little bit and not be so conscious about what you're doing?
Yeah, I would say so. It definitely takes a lot of work, especially like in the beginning and middle of that process. Part of it is because have an idea of what I want that story to be, that or what I want that work to say or to express. Um, but I may not know exactly how to do it, how to construct or how to create the composition or how to um, draw the object or the figure in a way that is expressing those ideas. So during that time, it can be a lot of it is a lot of I don't want to say a struggle, uh, but a lot of this concentration and understanding what I'm doing and how am I responding to what's being created, and is that response the right direction? Is it really leading me to where I want the work to go as it relates to the theme or the narrative that I want to express in that work.
So once you figure that out, then you can kind of let go and then you can flow.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Then you just let go. Then I can just flow. Uh, but as I feel like the work is being concluded or being finished, then I think I've become a lot more concentrated again and ensuring that what the work is saying and what I want it to do is actually being accomplished.
So you're always checking in with it on that level.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting. Like I think if you have a narrative that's it's pretty specific, right?
Mhm.
There's a certain narrative, there's a certain something that you want the viewer to come away with. You have to stay pretty true to that idea, that narrative, but let yourself be able to have fun and be free and be creative. It seems like an interesting duality or dichotomy of those two things.
Yeah, I would say so. I don't think it's not a hard it's not like a hard task to exist between those two poles, those two dualities. It's just maintaining, just being conscious that is what I'm trying to do. Like, to still have fun, to still be exploratory with materials or with what I am on what it is I'm creating, but also to stay focused with the ideas, to stay focused uh, um, with how I'm developing that storytelling. But yeah, I think obviously sometimes it's extremely frustrating and I make a lot of bad work and waste a lot of materials. But I think that in doing so, I'm staying true to the process and having a lot of fun, which is
You also have to figure out what not to do, right? That's pretty important.
yeah, that is very important. And so figuring out what not to do, causes me to make a lot of bad work,
That's part
a
of
lot
it.
of a lot of work that I don't feel is successful.
Indeed. And but you
Yeah.
have that's so important being able to edit yourself. That's such a critical step. So you've been basically just making art for a career for a number of years.
Well,
What
I also teach.
but you teach too. Where are you
Yeah.
teaching? I,
Right now I'm at Columbia University.
were you teaching there some years ago when I first met you?
I was probably still at SVA. I
That's
was
right.
teaching at
That's right. I remember that. So you've been
SVA.
teaching for you. That's good. That's good. And you're still teaching.
Yeah, yeah, off and on for years. Yeah.
Off and
Mhm.
on. Yeah, it's great. That's great. I was about to launch into a conversation about Josh Klein's article. I don't know if you read it or heard of it.
I've only read pieces of it. Yeah, I haven't read the whole thing. I haven't read the whole
Interesting.
article.
It's very interesting. Yeah,
What are
yeah.
you?
What's say again?
Because so what are your thoughts?
Well, for people that don't know, it's called New York Real Estate and the Ruin of American Art. And I was fascinated. I thought it was extremely thoughtful, extremely well researched. I think what he was saying is pretty objective that the rents have gone up for most people 300% in the last 10 years. And how are you going to make art? What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to survive? And being creative and being expressing yourself is becoming increasingly difficult. And it is interesting for him as a mid-career artist, having this big mid-career show retrospective at the Whitney and still being like, I don't know if I can afford New York. And I've seen this. I worked for an artist who was showing at a great gallery, Blue Chip Gallery. It was like is still like an artist. He couldn't afford have assistants anymore. And this is maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago now. And he wasn't even sure if he could pay the rent. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah,
What? If he can't do it, how the hell is anybody else gonna do it? It's crazy.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think that a lot of that is true, and I know a lot of artists that we have that struggle. I mean, they look like they're doing really amazing, and they are. But this city has become such a place where um, it's just unaffordable, and it's hard to really push forward in a substantial way, like push forward in terms of improvement of quality of life, to save more money, to expand your studio practice in a way that either you get more square footage or you are able to bring in assistants to help with the creation of the work. Um, yeah, I tell like some of my students all the time who want to be living, working artists in New York City. I don't know. Like what should I do? How do I do this? Like, I'm not sure, but I think this is what you could this is what you could focus on. This is apply to residencies, um, get a day job. Don't rush to get a studio space right after grad school. You know, you be very strategic. Put yourself on a 2 to 4 year plan. If you plan on living in New York, do you want to get roommates? Maybe you need to leave Williamsburg and move to Astoria, Queens. Like I don't know. But it is the city and being a creative has become so much more difficult in the last like 10 years. It's hard to know. Um, it's hard even for myself. Sometimes it's hard to know where the wind is blowing and what is happening with the market and what's happening with certain opportunities and even like the gallery landscape. Um, young artists, emerging artists ask me all the time, who can I be introduced to for a young emerging gallery? You know, at this point, there's very few. There's very few emerging galleries that an emerging artist could link up with and work with, and those two people like grow and mature together. Um, yeah, it's greatly changed. The landscape has really changed over the last 10 years and become even more of a puzzling place to try um, to know like how to build your career in a way that you feel as if you're moving forward in some substantive way.
One of the things that I really have been thinking about in terms of the point that Josh Klein made in the article is that there can't be any new movements necessarily. There's no freedom for that, And one thing he said that I think was misconstrued in that article was that painters have done well because they're making decorations for rich people. I think the way he meant it, I understand. People, even on a subconscious level, you think, and I think I was thinking like this too when I was maybe 10 years ago. I was showing a lot more and I was really trying to have a career just making art. I didn't realize the landscape, we were already, the landscape had already shifted, it was already
Yeah,
kind of done. But I realized that I was kind of making paintings that I thought subconsciously would sell because you want to survive. And of course, like that's what people do because that's like those are the opportunities that you think you're going to get. And so it's not even on a conscious level. It's just doing something very insidious where you don't even realize it. But one thing I really appreciate your work is that this is stuff because of the narrative quality, because of you're dealing with a lot of social issues and a lot of abrasive issues like Trump, slavery, like it's in your face. And a rich person is probably not going to want those paintings in their house. Like maybe they will, but I don't know. It just seems like it's like got a built-in antidote to being decoration in that way. And I worry that young artists and young painters don't even realize that they're doing things that they're subconsciously pandering to people that they think can support them.
right. Yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I know for myself, I just have to be true to what I know the studio is asking from me and what I want my work to be and what I want my legacy as an artist, to be um, and what I want my once I'm gone, like the work to carry on and be you know my voice. Like what do I want my voice to be when I'm no longer here, able to explain the work or talk about the work. Um, so I know that a lot of times I make work that isn't necessarily uh, easy to digest, but I think that I think that I just have to remain true to that's like me. That's the work that I know I need to make and have to make for myself. And for what my artistry is asking from me. Um, but yeah, it's difficult because in that, you make challenging work, and there's perhaps it's not going to be easily embraced or quickly embraced. So so yeah, I mean that is a worry as it relates to, well, I still got rent to pay and I'm hungry and I like nice clothes and I would love to go to this year's Venice Biennale. So how is that going to get paid for? Um, so still thinking about how, money and how we live, how you got to make it through all of it. Uh, but I trust in the work, and I trust that um, whoever's supposed to live with it and acquire it will find their way to it.
That's good. I think all art and life in general is a negotiation.
Yeah, for sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's always at the micro and macro levels. When you're painting, it's always a negotiate. Like even from down to the tiniest mark, you have to mix just the right color to get there. So you're negotiating that mixture. Or you're negotiating how big the painting is, how big the mark is, how big. There's so much stuff that's happening that I think is not necessarily even on
Mhm.
a conscious level, but that's the beauty of it, right? And I think that's why it's so important because it is so nuanced. It trains you into seeing things from different angles, which I think is something that the culture is sadly losing.
Yeah, I know. Isn't it just kind of like disappointing that that people aren't able to have a more dimensional like outlook on the world, and how people who perhaps don't look like them or come from their known or understood community, like just have different perspectives on how other people live or the choices other people make.
It's so helpful to be in New York where we're in a place that's just naturally diverse.
Yeah,
We're exposed to so many different perspectives.
yeah. Which is such a beautiful thing about New York.
Oh, it's the best.
Gorgeous. I know. Like sometimes I have to pinch myself when if I'm like traveling around the city on errands, or if it's a nice day and I'm just like, okay, let's play. And like go to see shows in Tribeca and walk through Chinatown, and then you walk through Little Italy, and then you like go over to Soho to shop or something, and then I get on a train because I live in East Harlem. Get on a train, a 6 train, to go back to Harlem, and I pop out the train. I'm in like Spanish Harlem. It's like I just had like high society art world, then Chinatown, Little Italy, went to Soho and had a great little, I don't know, shopping extravaganza. And now I'm back in Spanish Harlem. So, you have all these great communities and experiences in a handful of hours, which is it's the amazing thing about New York City.
Amazing. And on the train, you passed like five different other neighborhoods on the way, including, you still you still have this old New York in the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, which is like the Gilded Age still, and like
Yes,
right. It's amazing. And I think it really makes for good art. I think it's like having a more diverse microbiome. We're so lucky to be here and to tap into the energy of it. Even if you're not going out too much, you're just in the studio, you still tap into that creative energy of the city.
for sure. I mean, just like you said, even if you're not going out a lot, but you're on that train, like, you have no choice but to be experiencing culture's energy that is not your own, and it's right in front of you. It's you have to you have to like contend with it. So I think I love that about the city, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity, what social economic background you're coming from. Like we are all on the train and dealing with the same spilled coffee that's on the floor, or dealing with like a crying baby, or whatever the chaos is shared amongst all of us.
It's true. We're basically on a big ship.
Right, 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 right. Yeah.
But I guess the planet too is like a big ship, isn't it? A big spaceship
The planet. It's funny that you said a spaceship. It is, right? It is a big spaceship.
floating through
Yeah.
space, at tremendous speeds.
Yeah. I had a reminder when Armistice, when the space
Oh,
the
Artemis, yeah.
when they were
The moon launch?
re-entering, yeah, the moon launch, when they were returning a couple of days ago, and looking at that small little capsule like speed through the atmosphere and like and land in the ocean. I was just reminded of like, shit, we are tiny. Like we're just a small little speck within this ginormous mystery of the universe. And that's always a humbling. It's always like a humbling kind of reminder, like how tiny we are and how significant, insignificant we are in all of this.
Beautifully put. I had the same feeling when I watched I didn't watch the return, but I watched the launch. I was just riveted. I was on the edge of my seat watching this thing. I had a feeling of kind of weightlessness. It's the same kind of thing with art where it's more than just exploring space. It's the endeavor is something that the value of which can't be quantified.
Right.
People like Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about, and he's right, that the value of it is, we get so much more from a pragmatic standpoint, from a physical standpoint, or from a material standpoint, we get a lot of technological advancement and improvement because of the space programs and all this stuff, and we do. But I think it's more than that. I think from like a spiritual perspective, it seems to be very important. Just as you said, you get a different perspective on the scale, how tiny we are, and that's really important to maybe it's about deflating the ego, whatever it is, it seems to be very powerful.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. And I think it's that's really important for like the time that we're living in right now. A little bit of humbling of ego as it relates to like man and our need to control or our need to flex in some sort of way. Um, it's good to have those moments of reminding ourselves that we are just a small little we're a small little spaceship in this really huge, vast universe.
It's right, and it's so precious.
Yeah.
It's so precious. What we have here, just being able to survive, and on top of that, that we get to be artists in New York, and is just beyond. It's amazing. It's amazing. You can create
It's a
whatever you want.
luxury.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It is definitely amazing. It's a luxury. It's something I don't take for granted at all. When I leave and when I travel for like a couple of days or a couple of weeks and I return to the studio, I'm always like, oh my God, thank you, universe, for the studio. I'm just so grateful to be able to be a creative in this city and have what I'm able to have as an artist to make my work.
just to be able to make the work and to be in this lineage as well. There's such a strong tradition of create, and I think that's the thing that Josh Klein was trying to make people aware of is that we're sort of losing some of the things that make New York a place that artists can thrive. It's
Yeah.
harder and harder, and I hope that it's better for the next generation. We're lucky enough as it is to be able to make art, but if it's like if I was just getting out of grad school now, I don't know,
Yeah.
oof, right?
Yeah.
What you went to
Yeah. Yeah.
Yale?
Yeah. I went to Yale. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what year did you get out?
I graduated 2004.
So you went straight
Uh,
in.
yeah, I went straight in after undergrad, and then moved here immediately after grad school. And it was definitely easier to tap into the art community. I mean, it just wasn't as large as it is now, right? So it it definitely felt like, excuse me, it definitely felt like a an extended family at moments because everyone, I mean, we all knew each other. Um, and so it was easier to gain certain opportunities because if Derek Adams, he was the director of Rush Arts at the time, and so Derek put everyone in a show at Rush Arts from Kehinde to McLean to me to William Cordova, Leslie Hewitt. He just invited us all to show in his space, And so through that invite, we we're meeting other artists in our generation. And so it is, you're able to really build a community pretty quickly during that time. But now the community, the art world, it seems so big, and it seems hard to tap into certain communities, or hard to develop. Uh, I'm what I'm witnessing, what I'm hearing from younger generations, younger artists. It's harder to tap into certain communities and develop like relationships that are beyond perhaps the relationships that they formed in school. Um, so it's yeah, I moved here and started as an artist and developed relationships I think at a really great time.
That reminds me of a conversation I had with this older artist who came up in the 60s and worked at Food, Gordon Mata Clark's restaurant.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, he was awesome. He was saying that at that in those days, in like the early 70s, there was one art world. There was just one art world. That's it. You know,
yeah.
you knew everybody.
There was the openings in Chelsea on Thursday night, and we'd all go to Grand Szechuan on
Yeah,
yeah, right, that
yeah.
little Chinese restaurant on the corner of, I think it was 24th
An eighth, right?
and yeah, Nate, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Is that still there?
It's gone. It's gone.
Dang,
Yeah,
the
it's
old
gone.
days. Is that
So
Mexican restaurant still there? Do you remember that spot?
no, it's not. I know. Yeah, no, that Mexican restaurant is not there. The Grand Szechuan restaurant isn't there anymore. I'm trying to think what else. Botino is still there. I'm trying to think where else we would go. Those are the things that immediately come to mind.
It's a different
But
city all the time, isn't it?
yeah, it's a different city all the time, which is great, which is why we love New York, right? But I think that yeah, the art world is so much bigger now than when we were coming up.
You can't know a fraction of the people that are here. This It's vast and it's fragmented too. There's all these different art worlds within art worlds, and
And listen, Dan, I don't even try to anymore. At this age, I'm like, yo, I can't keep up. Sometimes I forget, like my sister's name. So it's like hard to try to remember it. And yeah, it can be difficult keeping up um with the changing flows of the art world and the social dynamics of it all.
You've exceeded Dunbar's number. Do you know that? It's like the number of people that we can actually hold in our minds that we can know. I think it's comes from the size of the tribe would have been like as a species coming up 150 or 200 people, something like that. The max at which we can really hold in our minds,
Ooh, okay, okay.
something
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
I'm by now.
You're probably beyond
I'm
that.
sure you.
You must be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure we both have. Living in this city.
That's a good problem to have. There's always more interesting people you can meet, and you can further going back to our conversation about this diversity being healthy. I think the flip side of that is that it can it can induce anxiety a little bit, because it's so intense.
Yeah.
You,
How do you deal with that? The anxiety of the intensity,
oh,
y'all. Do you still go to meetings and large gatherings? And
say again. Oh, openings.
so yeah, do you still go to openings, and how do you deal with the intensity and the anxiety?
I go to a good amount of openings. Fortunately, the job that I have is there's only a few of it. It's like me and two of my friends that work in a warehouse. It's good on a social level, but it's also nice that I can then socialize in a more in like a bigger group environment. So, but also I just dip in for a bit now. I'm in bed by 9:30. I'm up at 5:30.
Yes,
And that
same.
keeps it
Well,
regular.
I'm not really up that early, but yeah, I have a pretty regular schedule.
What time do you get up?
7 o'clock.
That's good. That's reasonable. Going to sleep at 9:30, waking up at 5 is completely antisocial.
Why do you go to bed so early?
Well, so I started doing these 10-day silent retreats called Vipassana. Do you know?
Ooh.
Have you ever heard of it? It's free and they feed you. You can donate if you get some benefit from it, and it's just amazing.
Is it in the city or is it in is it outside of the city?
They got a few centers outside the city. There's one center where you can do a 1-day course in the city if you've done a 10-day. You have to do a 10-day first, but it's in the SN Goenka tradition. So there's one in Shelburne Falls, Massachusetts that you might have heard of. It's pretty well
Uh,
known.
okay, so you know David, the artist David Antonio Cruz.
No.
He's a artist friend of mine, but he also did like this 10-day silent retreat, and he does it once a year. But it sounds very similar to kind of like
I bet that was it. It was
what
probably
you,
Vipassana. It was probably that. Yeah,
yeah.
you connect us. I'd like to talk to him.
Okay, okay, yeah, I'll do that.
If you think of it, yeah, because it's nice to talk
Yeah,
to artists that also get involved in this meditation tradition. It's very, and it's not culty at all. It's very basic. It's just observing sensations in your body. I mean, you go to some really intense places when you do these retreats because we're so used to having external stimuli, and there it's just observing your mind. You really observe your mind, so you realize
right.
quickly that it's not very silent internally.
And so, what do you do when you're in that like meditative space, or you're deep within your mind, and you aren't able to lower the volume down
I just
of
freak
your
out.
mind?
I just usually freak out internally. Just have a panic attack and no, like, just no, no, that's a bit of that too. But then sometimes you feel calm. It's really. I did a course called Satipatthana Sutta, which is like a one of the Buddhist. It comes from the Buddhist tradition, of course. The Buddha was so pragmatic. He basically was saying that if you want to be free, just do this. It may be simple, but it's extremely difficult. It's probably the hardest thing I can think of. But this course is a little more in depth in terms of looking at the quality of your mind in those moments. So you might have some transcendent, you might feel like you're just dissolving and can sense that you're just made of tiny particles and it can be very beautiful and blissful. But then you might have a session
Yeah.
where you're just suffering, your back hurts and you're just on some eternal mountaintop of suffering. But so
Uh,
it's really a way of just looking at those sensations and really observing your mind and sensations in your body for what they are. The basic premise of the technique is looking at craving and aversion. They're basically the same thing. You're going towards something or away from something. You're encouraged to keep coming back to the sensations as they are. So you start with your breath for 3 days and just observe sensations. Just the space under your nostrils, you feel the breath going in, coming out. And then you really get into the texture of it, the quality of it. So it feels warmer coming out, cooler coming in. I can feel you really, really understand the texture, the quality of the breath. But what you're doing is you're training your awareness. And then when you start observing sensations in your body, it's the same thing. All the time we're feeling sensations, but we're just not aware of them. And so you're really training yourself
right.
to observe that. And then it bleeds out into the rest of your life. If you're feeling upset, you stop identifying with it so much. Or if you even if you feel very happy, you don't grab onto that so much. But it's training yourself to be more balanced in the mind.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah, yeah,
useful.
yeah. Oh, that's great. That's
It's
great.
I need to get back though. I've fallen off a little bit. It's easy to do. They encourage you to keep do an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening, and I do about maybe 30 or 40 minutes in the morning and then 20 minutes at night, which by New York standards, I think that's pretty good. You know,
Yes, for sure, for sure. That's great. That's great.
it's really good. It's useful, but that was a very long and meandering way to tell you why when you go to retreats, they wake you up, you get up at 4:30 in the morning and you basically meditate all this. You get on this schedule. And I stayed on that schedule for a number of years, relatively similar to that schedule, just so I could have enough time to meditate in the morning and then at night and so forth. How about yourself? Do you have some good techniques for staying sane?
Yeah, I mean, I try to do a meditation in the morning. It's not nearly as long as what you described for your practice.
Anything's
Uh,
good, whatever you do.
yeah, yeah, like anywhere between like 5 to 10 minutes. And
That's good.
normally I try to do that before I get fully out of bed. So I'll pull myself out of bed so I'm not like in the lounging position where I would fall back asleep, but not so much where I feel like I'm out of the bed and out of the bedroom and I want to like start like moving in and tending to the day. Um, and I would try to go to the gym like first thing before the morning, or not the morning, but first thing before like the studio or running errands. And so that normally keeps me sane, like moving the body, even if it's not like a hard workout, just being active. 'Cause that also gives me time to think. I like to like listen to my music, then think about what I'm making, or think about like with the day, what I want to do in the day. So that normally centers me.
That's probably the most critical part of everything is just exercise. Walking as much as you can, working out and doing resistance training and walking is just that is like it's the
Yeah,
fountain of youth. That's
yeah,
it.
for sure. Absolutely. Like when I see some classmates that I went to undergrad with, or even like old childhood friends who maybe are not in the best of shape. Like, what do you do? I'm just move the bodies. It's like just go for a walk or
You
you
just walk,
know.
man. At least 5 miles a day. You can't, that's not that much time. Maybe an hour or
Yeah.
something.
But then I have to
Hour.
realize like we live in New York City, so we're walking whether we want to or not. And so some of my friends, they have more live in more stationary cities, so they're not they're just not as active. Um, but yeah, I think that just just moving the body in a really like in a way that you're aware of and how you're moving and how you're breathing is important and that keeps me centered.
And it's all connected. You can't make your art without your body.
Right.
We still have a Cartesian, is that the right way to put this? Disconnect between the mind and the body. You think, I'm an artist. I remember thinking this when I was younger, like, oh, why would I work out? I'm not an athlete. The CEO of Nike famously said that if you have a body, you're an athlete.
Yeah.
If you want to make paintings, if you want to make art, quality of your body is going to affect directly the quality of your work.
Yeah, for absolutely. Um, I like that. I like that, if you have a body, you're an athlete.
You got to transport your consciousness to somewhere somehow.
Yeah.
Oh man, Wardell, it's been such a pleasure to talk.
Yeah, this has been great, Dan. I appreciate you inviting me to have the conversation. It's great to see you.
Great to see you
Thanks
too.
thanks for checking out the show and having such like wonderful things to say about the work. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. And people should check out the show. It's up at Sycamore Malloy Jenkins in Chelsea
Yeah.
until
May 6th, I believe.
okay, so people have a little time to check it out. And they absolutely should.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
And
you. Yeah.
is there anything else you'd like to add before we go?
Go see the show. Stay optimistic. Stay resilient.
That's it.
We'll all be okay.
I love it. We need more of that.
Yes.
Thank you again, Wardell.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
Talk to you soon.
Dan.